Oh my gosh. He was the guy that I made take a picture of his badge and his driver's license and his plate because I was like, are we going to meet? There's always an excuse.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, his car broke down. We fell asleep. Oh, he has to work. I'm like, are we going to meet? Because at this point, I don't think you're real.
Hey, welcome back to the Dating Detox Show, where we help you get healthy, date healthy, build healthy relationships. If you have not already downloaded the Modern Dater's Playbook, you need to do that. You'll see a description, a link below. It helps you answer 4 crucial questions that you need to be thinking about when dating. I am Eric Wooten, and with me, as always, is Autumnie.
Hey, y'all. I'm Autumnie. Glad you're joining us today. We've got a really good topic to talk about.
How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good.
Awesome. Good. Here's what we're going to talk about today. I believe that if you're dating online, you need a plan. And I think too many people don't have a plan and they just are kind of like winging it online and then wonder why we're not getting good results. So I don't want to make it so mechanical.
Yeah.
Here's part of the problem. I think we need to be intentional. Some people see intentional as like mechanical and too planned. And if it's too intentional, then it's not romantic and it's not organic and all this other stuff. And I have the same conversations with married couples who think that everything that is important should just happen in a relationship. But it doesn't because we're busy and that kind of stuff. So I think you should have a plan.
Okay.
But before I tell you what I think my plan is, what's your plan? Do you have a plan when you are dating online with apps? What does your plan look like?
I have no good plan. If I had a plan, I wouldn't be single.
So how's that no good plan working for you?
You know, I feel like I've had plans. I've had the intent.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes it just gets so repetitive that it's like the same conversation. It's the same to do. And it's like, okay, where are we going and how do we get off the app? You know, how do we get into like an actual conversation of texting to then meet or a phone call and then meeting?
So how do you do that? How has it happened?
So normally what happens, my patience for the dating apps are very, very slim.
Okay.
Very, very small. So I'll get on a dating app and I'm just like, you swipe, you can pay. There's some people you can pay and then you can have access to all the people.
Okay.
Or you're just kind of on the free side. You just swipe. And then once you hit your swipe likes, you're done for the day. So it kind of puts
you only get so many swipes.
You only get so many likes.
Do you think you get more bootleg people on the free? Or do they give you better people when you pay?
So I've done paid before. I don't know of a difference.
Okay.
I can't
so they're
really
not
tell.
necessarily like, because I don't know how they could tell if people are bootleg or not. But
sometimes it just depends on the app too. All the apps are different. Okay. But usually for me, my plan is clearly attraction. I mean, that's kind of what all you're basing it off anyways,
sure.
is what you see in their little bio. Mm-hmm. If they put anything of substance in the bio. And then from there, maybe you match, they start the conversation. It's always like, how's your day? It's another day. It's just
nothing original. We should actually do a whole show on like dating bio red flags. Are there things you see in the bio that you're like, absolutely not?
No, 100%. And I think there's also filters. So I can put filters on like, how far away do you live?
Okay.
You can put age filters and you can also put like, religion filters on there too. Kids, no kids. You can put all these filters on them. But sometimes when you go into the messages, some just...
we had once somebody...
just not giving.
Somebody in our singles community, because we share stuff in there. Some people share pictures of like screenshots and there was this one dude and he said something like, he was like, I'm HIV positive, but he had this like whole thing. And we were just like, really? Yeah. I mean, it's good for him to be honest.
Yeah, it is.
But his lead-in was pretty sketch.
That's very scary. I'd be very scared if I saw that, to be honest. But I think too, the purpose of it is to get to meet somebody, right? Yeah. You get to meet somebody and you're interested. But the only hesitation to that is like, you're meeting so many people, they're meeting so many people, and then you almost build a roster is what it gets to. But a plan, I mean, get off the app. The plan is to get off the app. The plan
is to meet somebody on the app
and to get off the app.
Start building a relationship and get off the app.
That is the goal.
But is there a linear progression to do that, or is it just kind of like, I don't really know?
I genuinely don't know.
Gotcha.
Because I'm clearly failing at it.
Okay. Okay. So.
If you have a plan, if you think there's a recipe, I would love to hear it. Because
not necessarily a recipe.
Okay.
Because a recipe sounds like if you do these 7 things, then you get this wonderful cake.
No.
I don't think there's a recipe, but I do think there are ways to be intentional. Because again, I'm always blown away. Like my wife and I love to watch all the reality relationship stupid stuff. So you name it, from The Bachelor to Love is Blind to 90 Day Fiance to Married at First Sight, you name it. Just because I think they're hilarious. But I'm always amazed at like the 90 Day Fiance or some of that stuff when these people are like, I've been talking to them for like a year. I'm in love. I'm going over there. And I've never seen them.
Yeah, that's weird.
We've never, and I'm like, how in the world are you building a relationship emotionally with somebody, but yet you have no idea if like you're being catfished or they're really real or that kind of stuff. So in my mind, I'm like, there's got to be like a logical progression.
No, for sure. To
avoid that stupidity.
No, for sure.
So here would be my plan. I would say it's like 5 steps.
Okay.
And again, these there's not like a 5 days between step 1 and 2. They could
tell me these
go
steps.
fast. So step number 1, I would say, is obvious. You start messaging on the app.
Yes.
Duh.
If
those messages are going well, I would say very quickly, and quickly is subjective.
Couple days.
Probably. Do you know if it's going well in a couple days? But maybe within a week or 2 or something. If you're messaging somebody and you're enjoying the conversation, there's interest, I would very quickly move to some kind of video interaction with them. Now, some of the apps have built-in stuff.
Okay.
If they don't, I would say like Zoom or Google Meet. You don't do FaceTime and give them your phone number, so that's fine. You don't need to do that. Oh. But like Zoom or Google Meet, because you still don't know yet. But I want to know. So I'm having great conversations, messaging. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Okay. You may be some 80-year-old man
in a different country,
in South America,
literally
on Google Translate or
Listen,
something.
I've had a man have to take a picture of his license plate and his work badge so I can believe he's real.
Okay, perfect. So I would say
with my name next to it.
Yeah. So I would, and a newspaper that shows the right date.
Literally.
You're like a hostage negotiator.
I mean, at this point, you just don't know.
Yeah. So I think you've got to, messages are going good. You've got to move to some kind of video thing fairly quickly just to know. And again, don't give me your phone number if you're not comfortable with that. I wouldn't. I'd do Google or Zoom. I need to know that like this is the same conversation. You're saying the same things that were.
No, for sure.
Because you'll tell pretty quick. So I would say that is like next step.
Okay.
Then I think the step you would move to after that is you start feeling comfortable. Then maybe you could exchange phone numbers if you feel comfortable with that. Now, some people are still going to use a Google number or people feel differently. But I certainly wouldn't want to give a phone number before I've even seen if
they're real.
This looks like what we really do.
That's true.
Okay. So then I would say next step is we need to meet in person.
Yeah.
Fairly quickly as well. Now, again, this is where I'm like, people who you've been talking to them for 4 months, and like, if they're long distance, different issue. If they're somewhat local.
And that blows my mind that people would actually even do that. Like talk to somebody that long and not meet them.
And not actually go meet them.
But actually, I've been in that situation before too.
So how'd that work out?
Honestly, by the end of it, oh my gosh, he was the guy that I made take a picture of his badge and his driver's license and his plate. Because I was like, are we going to meet? There's always an excuse. Yeah. It was like, oh, his car broke down. We fell asleep. Oh, he has to work. I'm like, are we going to meet? Because at this point, I don't think you're real. Like, I genuinely don't think you're a real person.
And if there's that many issues,
yeah, it was very concerning. Anyway. And then like we did like FaceTime once, and it was like the background was like one of those like really, just like generic like pictures in the background. And I'm like, oh
like
my.
The virtual backgrounds that when they lean back, it blurs out?
No, it wasn't even like that. It was before COVID. It was pre-COVID. So I don't think we had all that put into place yet. But I mean, it was so concerning. I was like, you're not real. And it got to the point where I finally told him, I was like, I don't believe you're real. Stop talking to me. Until I met somebody who worked with him. And I found out, I was like, wait, you work at the same place? I was like, do you know this guy? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, he's real?
So why didn't he ever want to meet? Why couldn't he meet?
Apparently the excuses were real. But then we met. We actually ended up meeting. We ended up meeting. Crazy enough. We ended up having like, I think I texted him or something. So I was like, hey, I ended up meeting somebody that, you know, because he kept reaching out over, you know, some time. I was like, stop talking to me. Leave me alone. And then finally we met. We went out to dinner. He told me he was scared he was going to get jumped because he'd been obviously a jerk. But we met for dinner. It was a great dinner. And then texted, made it home. Never heard from him again.
Interesting.
No social media. Oh, it was like the same 5 pictures. That was another red flag. It was like the same he was the same pictures. This is what scared me, was he had the same 5 or 6 pictures. And then I saw him on another dating app. Same 5 or 6 pictures, different name.
yeah, that's a red flag. What do you
different name? And I was like,
but you had the real name because I
had his badge.
You verified it with a coworker too,
and I had his work badge.
So
picture.
What was it?
So the second account was a fake name, and I told him I was like, somebody is either taking your photos. I don't know. It was just weird. It was scary. We met once. I mean, he did everything right. He prayed for the meal. I mean, paid for everything.
So you were just that unenjoyable on that first date. You got to step up your first date game. He didn't want a second date.
I think something in him felt like, I can't pull one over on this girl. I really think he realized, like, I can't fool her.
You weren't enamored by his pre-meal prayer.
No.
Spiritual
or his
talk.
nice outfit. No.
Yeah. Didn't buy that.
No.
That's hilarious. Okay, so back to, I think you got to meet in person.
And even then, they could be lying about their age.
Sure. But we've already been talking. I've seen you.
Yes.
You know, we've exchanged personal stuff. You got to meet in person. But for me, there's some caveats with this because, again, I'm hearing the stupidest stories of first dates.
Scary.
So my caveat is this.
Okay.
You're meeting at a place.
Public.
That's public. You're showing up separate and you're leaving separate.
Yes.
And your friends know where you're going.
Yes.
And you text them when you get there and you text them when you leave. Because I'm so tired of hearing everything but that. I don't care if he can cook. You don't need to go to his house for the first meal. We don't, listen, this is for some of you because I've heard this story too many times. Ladies, you don't need to go pick him up at the apartment because his car's in the shop.
Oh, I have a story.
If I've had that story once, I've heard it 100 times. Dude, don't have a car. That's why you're picking up or if he Ubers to the place and then asks you if you can give him a ride home, the answer is no. He can Uber back home.
Yeah.
There's just too much stupidity with that.
Or his license has been revoked because he lost his driver's license.
So you need to pick him up.
No, you Uber. Because then my stupidity, I was younger, it was we're going to be responsible and we're going to Uber to the restaurant. Do you want my Uber to pick you up since we're going to be drinking? And I'm like, oh my gosh, no, like that's so sweet, but thank you. And then we're going to go to a Stars game and it's going to be so fun. Let's take the Dart down to the Stars game. I mean, he really knew what he was doing.
Like it's going to be his cool
experience. It was an adventure. Yeah, and I was like, oh, I'm so down for this. Like, let's be adventurous. And then come to find out, one of my girlfriends, I'm telling her all the stories, and she says, Autumn, I don't think he has a driver's license. And I was like, stop it. And then I asked him, and it's because he's had DWIs, and his driver's license was revoked. I don't think he has
a driver's license. You're like, no, he just loves adventure.
Yeah, been there.
Just stop it. So none of the other stuff on our first in-person meeting. You show up separate, and you go home separate.
And
you're not
see
going
his
back
car.
to anybody's place at the end of the night. You're not giving him a ride back home or her a ride back home. You're not picking him up at the house because the car's in the shop. Not all this foolishness. It can just be we meet somewhere.
Yeah.
We can have a good night. We can have the adventure maybe the third day once we've knocked out a couple like regular, you actually had the ability to show up and you have a car.
Scary.
And a license and Because then it goes into stuff we've talked about before, right? Where then you got the guys like, well, if I can't count on you when I'm down.
Oh, Lord.
Shut up. Yeah.
Get up.
We need to start a relationship while you're on the up.
Agreed.
So you meet in person. I think that's step 4.
4.
And those are the rules for me going with it. Like, just don't be stupid. You don't fully know somebody. Even if you've talked to them.
Well, those are some basic rules.
Yeah, but people don't follow them because people are dumb. And they end up over at their house. And it all sounds good. And you just never know. So be smart.
That's true.
Then I would say step 5, which I think should also happen fairly quickly. If you've had, 3 or 4 dates and you're enjoying it. For me, step 5 is like they need to meet your community.
I think that's good.
And you need to meet their community.
I think that's a good one.
And if you don't have community, you need to get community.
Get some community.
Because we are foolish.
That's good. Step 5 is good.
And especially when we have... It amazes me because I just had this conversation with somebody like 2 weeks ago. A married friend who their friend is dating and all of them don't feel comfortable with the guy she's dating. And I'm like, that should be enough.
That should be enough.
Like, I don't care how much you like somebody. If your community, the people who love you, you can count on, you trust their wisdom. If they say, this doesn't feel good, this isn't right, I'm not down for this, like that should be enough.
Yeah.
I don't know why we prioritize our feelings, knowing that our feelings deceive us, that our feelings cause us to miss red flags. Hard. I understand that, but like there's enough objective evidence to show if your community isn't, that should be enough for somebody to go, sorry, dude, I love everything about you. I think this is amazing. I thought you were the one, but all of my community doesn't. I'm out. That should be enough. Because you got to trust them over how you feel in the moment. Because the feelings rise and fall.
I think another step too, if we're thinking about steps for dating app though, is have a friend look at your profile as well. Like have somebody look over what you put out there. To see what you're presenting? Yeah, to see what you're presenting. And see if they think maybe you should take this out or maybe you should add that. And then... I think that would be one extra thing I would do in there.
So that would be step half. Because that would go way on the front end.
That would be like as you're building the profile, make sure that somebody maybe looks over it. If you're not used to dating apps. Like if you're a pro at it, I can look over it for you. But no.
Maybe we should start a service. We're starting a new service. If you would like Automie to look over your... you know what? That would be fun. That could be like a whole segment.
I could probably help you. Because
where we could review... dating app bios.
And I will say that usually the times that I have gone on dates, minus the few, or gotten off the dating app, usually if I meet them in person, it does go into something. It does grow. Yeah. I mean, does it last? Clearly not. But
Yeah, but
it's good because you can usually filter a lot of people through the messages. If you ask the right questions, like if there's deal breakers, like we've already talked about some deal breakers and those are red flags, it's like, sorry, unmatch or block or whatever and you don't know them anything. You don't have to feel bad about ghosting them. I don't know you, and I didn't know you 5 minutes ago or 5 days ago, there's no commitment there. But definitely you can weed through a lot of people once you start. Like one guy I messaged and we were messaging, but his occupation just wasn't lining up to what I know I desire. And it just kept coming up again. And I'm like, it's just not going to work.
Yeah, so. which is fine.
Yeah.
But I think if you're willing to do these steps we talked about, I think again, there's no guarantee, like, that's why it's not a recipe, because that only gets us to the dating process, which now is a whole thing. Of how do we evaluate? How do we talk about values?
That's a lot.
How do, all that kind of stuff. But the problem I'm seeing is people that don't have a plan will be literally 6 months into a relationship where they've been talking or messaging or other stuff. And it's like, dude, you haven't even met them.
No, that's not smart.
Your people have not met them. So now you're becoming more, your heart's getting more and more engaged and more attached. And they haven't even got around your people. You haven't got around their people.
If you haven't met.
You're going to learn a lot about somebody if you get around their community. So not only do they need to be in your community, but you need to see their community. If they don't have any, that's a red flag. That's a problem. If you get around it and they're the exception. So that could be a whole nother show. When you got the person who is the exception in their circle, dude, you can't. Nobody is. Your people influence you. You
That's
are
true.
a product of who you hang out with.
You're stressing me out.
If you've got somebody who is like all the other ones are fools, but they're not. All the other ones are cheaters, but they're not. At some point, you got to go, okay, you are not so amazing that, well, one, you're clearly not influencing them. But at some point, they're going to influence you. So you need to see their community too, because that will give you some insight.
That's true. That's so true. Wow. All those are good steps.
So if you don't have a dating app progression plan, maybe those 5 steps will work for you. But you got to have something. You can't just wing it. You can't be catfish. You can't keep building emotional intimacy with somebody that you don't even know is real and then wonder why 6 months later something goofy happened. And if they ask you for money early on, this is a whole nother conversation. I just feel like more and more stuff pops in my head early on. It's like, well, hey, I talked to one couple early on, and the guy mentioned something about she was giving him like $30 a month to help him with some training he was trying to get. I'm like, why are we giving people money early on?
No.
If they don't got their own money, bye.
No. Yeah. No. Not good.
There's a whole, don't let them move in with you. Come on, there's so many. You don't need to share a car because their cars, there's just too many stupid things.
Yeah, no.
Have a plan, trust your community, progress through it, make sure this person's real, get around them. You don't want to build a whole bunch of emotional intimacy through conversations when you've not had any time together to actually do the other stuff. So if you don't have a plan, get a plan. Those steps may help you. If you have not downloaded our free Modern Daters Playbook, you'll see a link in the description area below. Grab that. If you haven't subscribed, joined us in the journey, please do that as well. And we'll see you next time right back here.